Dr. Julius Malabio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. National anthem, please. Please be seated. Your Excellency, with your permission, sir, we will do this engagement in Creole. Before we proceed further, we would like to invite the presence of God with the minutes of silent reflections. Amen. Amen. Your Excellency, the President, the Vice President, advisors, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are as part of the continuation of President's stakeholders engagement, where it starts with tribal heads, paramount chiefs. We also began yesterday religious leaders in there, and today, because of the number of CSOs that we will get, we get the largest number of people at one point in time for an engagement, because all the one that we get to get a different information of how the engagement today. But from make we push go forward, normally we can let from make we introduce ourselves because the engagement, so we will sabi ourselves. So we ask for the roving mic for make we start with the president of the Sierra Leone Association of Journalists, and then the many organizations.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Mr. President and Mr. Vice President. My name is Ahmed Said Nasrallah. I'm the President for the Sierra Leone Association for Journalists.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Mr. President.
Apologies. Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ahmed Said Nasrallah. I'm the President for the Sierra Leone Association of Journalists.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Honorable Vice President. Good afternoon, everybody. Mina Edinia Michael Aswalo, President of the Sierra Leone Bar Association.
His Excellency the President, Mr. Vice President, ladies and gentlemen, Ibrahim Tommy, Executive Director, Center for Accountability and Rule of Law.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Vice President. All members present here, good afternoon all. Mina Sadi and Adams, National President, Women's Forum, the National Women's Umbrella Body. Thank you.
Jacob Safar, Chief Minister. Excellency, Vice President, in Aquaport Nakroma, the Resident Minister of Northeast.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency and Mr. Vice President. Mina African spokesman for the President and Minister of the Northwest Region.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, Vice President, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm John Aponji Benjamin, Senior Advisor to His Excellency the President and Ambassador at Large.
Good afternoon to you all. I'm Brother Charles Mambo, Chairman Coalition of Civil Society.
Your Excellency, Honorable Vice President, Momera Mansour, Minister of Information and Communications.
Excellency, Vice President, Ambassador Umaro Undawuri, Excellency the President, and Union Chairman of West.
protocols observed, Konakuruma, Presidential Advisor and Ambassador at Large.
We'll continue this way with Solomon.
Good afternoon, His Excellency. Good afternoon, Honorable Vice President William Saul Amin, Executive Director Accountability Now Sierra Leone, Chairman Civil Society Consortium on Service Delivery, and representative of Works of West Africa Civil Society Forum for Sierra Leone Chapter.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Honorable Vice President, good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Matilda Ekanson Siama, Program Officer, Rural Women Action.
Good afternoon, His Excellency, Honorable Vice President, and all protocols observed. I am Brian Makonte, the Head of Programs Advocacy Movement Network, AMNET, but then also in the capacity as the Advocacy Officer for Child Rights Coalition Sierra Leone. Thank you.
His Excellency, President, Honorable Vice President, good afternoon to you all. My own name is Abdul Manaf Kamukai. I'm the Executive Director for Defense for Children Sierra Leone and President Defense for Children International.
Good afternoon, His Excellency and the Vice President and all protocol observed. My name is Hannah Munagri Skill Reverend from Skyrim Soul Network, the network coordinator.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, the Honorable Vice President. I'm Alfonso Manley, the National Coordinator of Civil Rights Coalition.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Good afternoon, the Honorable Vice President, Mina Hassan Janet and Kamarango Murango, the Country Director, Child Rights Society Sierra Leone, and the National Coordinator for the Civil Society Consortium on Community Accountability and Service Delivery.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Vice President. I am Joseph Sano, here in Sierra Leone.
All protocol observed in Amara Kalon, Deputy Minister for Political and Public Affairs.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Good afternoon, Vice President. Mina Raymond D'Souza George, Advisor and Ambassador, Heritage and Culture.
Your Excellency, Honorable Vice President, good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Hawa Salih Samai, the Executive Secretary for the Independent Commission for Peace and National Cohesion.
Your Excellency, President, Honorable Vice President, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Simon Ekaima. I'm the Governance Advisor to the President.
Your Excellency, the President, the Honorable Vice President, and all state functionaries here, colleagues all, Mina Charles Cobain, Executive Director for Sweden. Good afternoon.
Your Excellency, the President, Honorable Vice President, members of the government, colleagues, the global civil society. I am Paul Alfonso Biambani. I'm the Executive Secretary of the Human Defenders Network Sierra Leone, the sub-unit coordinator of the West African Human Defenders Network, for Chapter.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Good afternoon, Honorable Vice President. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Coker. I work for Family Talk. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Good afternoon, Mr. Vice President. Good afternoon, Ministers. Good afternoon, Civil Society colleagues. I am Rashid Dumbuya, Executive Director of Legal Link and former Commissioner for Human Rights in Sierra Leone. I'm grateful for the invitation, sir. God bless you.
Good afternoon, His Excellency, Honorable Vice President, Cabinet Ministers, colleagues, CSOs. Good afternoon. I'm Cecilia Matia. I'm the coordinator for the National Advocacy Coalition Extractives, a member of the Sierra Leone Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, and a board member for Tax Justice Network Africa.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Good afternoon, Vice President. I am Edmond Abu Jr. from Native Consultant Research Center.
Good afternoon, Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief,
Vice President, and colleagues all. My name is Marcos Bangoa, the Executive Director of Citizens Forum for Democratic Accountability, C4D.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Good afternoon, Mr. Vice President. Mina Abdul Karim Habib, Executive Director of Network Movement for Democracy and Human Rights, and the Western Global Coordinator of National Elections Watch.
Good afternoon, all. Mina Solomon Subanti, the Director of Amnesty International Sierra Leone.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, sitting ministers, colleagues. I am John Paul Bai, Director for the Sierra Leone Alliance.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Honorable Vice President, Cabinet Ministers, colleagues all. I am Juliet Anderson, the National Coordinator of the Civil Society Movement Sierra Leone.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency, and all protocols observed. I am Fode Kabia, representing Citizens Advocacy Network.
Your Excellency, Honorable Vice President, government functionaries, and my colleagues, I'm Kalilu Ibrahim Tutangi. I'm Chairman for National Council for Civic Education and Development. No, I'm still your colleague.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency, Honorable Vice President. Mina Hamiru Harima Sakoy. I'm the Technical Assistant to the Chief Minister, Office of the President.
Mr. President, afternoon, sir. Vice President, good afternoon, sir. My name is Marcela Samba. I'm going to tell you from Campaign for Good Governance, the National Election Watch, we are the chair.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Honorable Vice President. Good afternoon, all. Abdullah Fatoma from Campaign for Human Rights and Development International.
Your Excellency, President, Honorable Vice President, everyone waiting at this room, good afternoon. My own name is Joseph Rahal, me the Executive Director of Princeton.
Mr. President and the able Vice President, my name is Mambo S. Piker, Human Rights Advocate for Prison Watch Sierra Leone.
Mr. President, the Honorable Vice President, the Fambulem Umadu, Mina Fasandu Bangura, and then at the Strategic Communications Unit, Ministry of Information.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Mr. Vice President. Good afternoon, everyone. Imansila, MIC, Strategic Communications Unit.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Like you don't see, we get CSOs then from a range of sectors, issues, thematic issues, the way they always try for discuss and defend. And like you don't instruct to you say you want to engage and talk to them, and you hear from them. But from them, you actually know it's there. I go on for invite the Honorable Chief Minister, who can explain and give a background to why we there today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sunday. Your Excellency, Honorable Vice President, colleague ministers, advisors, distinguished members of the civil society community, good afternoon. Generally, governments, they engage through different platforms and will be doing it in different ways through the usual press conferences held by the Ministry of Information, to town hall meetings where the president himself is very engaged. At least we're on record to have visited at least 50 chiefdoms across the country where the president, at any point in time, he always talk about his priorities, effort to the government they make, reasons for some of the challenges we are facing in the country. We've also had community meetings at different areas, community churches. Then also important, the Vice President has been interfacing with CSOs. I know at least annually they'll be talking to the CSOs directly, either in small groups or bigger group. Then the president himself from Willicam is on record to have a cocktail with journalists, particularly. Then recently, I think it was last year, we started with the CSO interface. These are all opportunities to engage. Yes, those engagements have been going on. When this incident of August 10th happened, we did preliminary analysis, and we are all part of Sierra Leone, we were able to understand. One of the things why should we wait for the investigation report to reveal anything again? One of the things that will come out that maybe we need to be a little bit more of engagement, different methodologies. And we had the voices of people's society groups who confirmed some of our thinking. When we drill down a little bit, we realize maybe the approaches of engagement with deprived communities particularly have not been structured, have not been sustained. Because one of the things we realize is that these engagements have likely been done or funded, supported by CSOs. After 1-2 years, the structures later are abandoned. As a government, we might not have probably come in. As government and probably our own government, we need to be a little bit more to engage with those communities. And then we also probably need for a little bit more of, at presidential level, to be a little bit more engagement with different groups from time to time. I mean, as listening government, we're taking all this in shape, and we're doing quite a lot to make sure we strengthen those stuff. So the president in his wisdom said, no, okay, let me start at my own level. Recently, as the Kakatoma talk, we started with tribal headsmen, they go to the paramount chiefs, they go to the religious leaders. And today, a very critical group, one of partners in development, like the civil society group, for engagement. You are better informed and you should better understand what we expect. So, this is just part of his effort to start engaging. And I will assure you that this engagement is lined up at his own level. They're going to be lined up at the program level. I mean, we designed a national program now for public engagement at different levels, beyond the communications. I mean, and definitely this particular group are going to be the implementers of that program, but it's going to be executed in a very structured manner. I mean, in a very sustained manner. They will make sure that it's mainstream within government, so that they don't die with exploration of donor funds. When you NDPD, $100,000 is spread away, we don't know. We have to mainstream into government. I mean, we believe that can be done, and the focus of that is to let people understand the global and national issues and that's impact on their lives. They will appreciate some of their challenges and some of the effort the government make. That's going to be the general focus. So we call one out today, one of our CSOs, one for probably updating on what's happening after the post, how do we call it now, August 10th. Tell one of that, then which effort government made, reiterate some of the national and global issues and some of the effort government made. Then more importantly probably, to solicit from you some how do we hope to, how can we resolve some of these issues? Well, not really resolve this issue, but how do we sustain peace and build national cohesion over the period? Thank you.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Chief Minister. Now we will hear from the President. We invite Una for Mekuna Kam and for Mekuna Ewiti for say through the opening remarks. Your Excellency, the President.
Thank you very much, the Press Secretary, the Honorable Vice President, Chief Minister, Ministers of Government, senior government officials present here, the civil society community in Sierra Leone, good afternoon. Yes, today's engagement will take the form of just me making an opening statement, which is my own account of how I view things generally, and definitely we want human reaction, and so that we go able to begin piece together the things that we're missing, or if they make salon they go, we say enough for go. I want to start by saying a big thank you to all of you for the various efforts that we have done to make, for keep this country together, for keep the government in check, and for also for contribute towards development. That is part of a democratic process. And it is not always pleasant when you hear some person or a group, they criticize you, sometimes for good reasons, sometimes very constructive, and sometimes it remind we of the things that we don't omit because we are a human organization. But it is important because we are human organizations and we can tend to go in different directions at different times, forget a good group of people we will say this government not a good so, or we say they go in your own opinion, because everybody gets again interest when they seek and they try for pursue. We all recall on the 10th of August last week the very ugly incident which happened there. We don't fever we as a country, and we don't look very ugly. Collectively, with all what we do and waiting governments they don't do, including mine, we don't build an image of a community, of a country we're resilient, of a country we don't take destiny in our hand, and as a country we don't decide say never again. That ugly past is so cruel to one another that people then ask, are these human beings? That was a decision we made. And as difficult as it is, variously, we all done the mega effort for change that image, for take away that stigma of a brutal civil war, Ebola, corruption, and all the things that we can make society better than before. But in just a few hours last week, all of that was thrown out of the window by a group of spirit unions. No leadership, nobody not claim leadership, because I shall say, waiting happened is so shameful and so bad that nobody will claim leadership. But of course, with the beauty of technology today, we know the one way they be this. Not the suspicion, the incitement, and all waiting happen take place now the cyberspace. And in the cyberspace, you leave your footprint. When you say something, it gets registered, and it can be stored and reproduced at different times. All of this was organized there. So, we're not there against protest, which is part of the freedoms that we would enjoy in a democracy. In fact, me not only believe, say, therefore, with freedom, I don't take part for make sure, say, I free the space even further. Especially some of when a journalist then. Which you all man be afraid for take out the seditious libel law. I believe say for free society, I take that off. But every freedom also gets responsibility. Why we get right for protest freely, peacefully, with an identification, knowing that saying identity we are the common for protest. You also get applicable restrictions. If you decide say you protest today, if I the pass say for above me, I for go pass and go buy me mina and bonga me I go cook. For above me. You get the right for Timothy for protest peacefully. This not been followed because of the actions of a few people, mostly very young, vulnerable people around specific parts of the country. And in small numbers, we image who done the fateful bill change in few hours. And we all get a task again collectively for tell the world, say, that was a simple, what you would call episodic eruption, and that we could change that image because it's not good for we, not good for help you go forward. So for make we go able to deal with this situation, Madam make me talk say we need for engage. Some people talk about dialogue, but dialogue is a dyad between two groups of people or individuals. And people have not owned up to this particular act. And it's difficult, therefore, for really identify them, for sit down with them. But you've been a group that is present all the time, when they all side, when they actively take part in the democracy that we try to develop. Because even the Americans and the British and all the other big democracies are still working on their democracies. We see what did happen January 6th. That was nobody imagined that could happen. Now America, you see the picture today, you see no, this is not happening, or it did not even happen. This is how I look at this August 10th. Somebody asked me, how do you deal with the situation after? How you see this? I just said, a blip. And we for treat it that way. That is not us. It does not look like us. And it should not be our collective image. We are a good people, Sierra Leoneans. I think, if I can accuse you all, including myself, we the good people can sit down with the bad people and they prevail. And so the actions of a few people don't make me look like some of the worst people. There are protests for cost of living around the world because things are tough. Around the world, inflation don't reach 40-year high in the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, some of the wealthiest economies. It is just beyond the control of some of the most powerful governments. What about we the go big, the same government then? So can't help we? Why are they travel? And for go big. And for go big. If I meet all night when I visit the travel, Bond is a beautiful place to go on vacation and go sit on there. Bond, number 2 is a beautiful place for go there and no need for go. But in the first place, one of the major international financial organizations, the IMF, the program we don't stop. We inherit austerity. There was no program with this country because of bad governance. I think, if I don't forget, it took us 8 months in action, in reforms, in waiting for a clean bill of health. We make all the financial institutions. It took me to go to the headquarters, the World Bank. I cannot sit in the comfort of my office and able to achieve that. You want big, you sit down there, say, well, can't give me this. Namibia, the most beautiful country in the world. When other countries, other leaders are present constantly in these places, presenting their case. I had to do marketing. It's not my forte. It's never been, nor has it been my discipline, but I needed to serve this country. I needed to clean up the image. And I needed to go to certain capitals. So when people want to talk, we get statutory obligations, travel, so they make. We can say, maybe come up on the UN, no, never go UN again. No come up on ECOWAS, no, never go there again. No come up on AU, no, never go there again. No, we not talk to China for, no, never go there again. No, forget about EU. Where do we stand? Are we part of the international community? No. Sierra Leoneans will talk about travel as if it is a pleasure. It is not. But it is part of the duties of the head of state. Who say you can't be the present? If you're not present, nobody knows about you. Nobody gets to hear your story. In your first time, we all, when a good neighbor there. When somebody moves in an area, the new person, you are expected to go around and meet. I don't come home. Especially if the person will be there was not a bad person. The need for trade is you are a good neighbor. And that you mean well. And that when I will live in harmony, may they know you. So even when you know they will help you. They will help you to kill them. I had to do these words. If I grab Agona Harvard, it is because they invite me. That is a great institution of learning in the world, preeminent. They don't invite lightly, they don't invite everybody. If I go to MIT, they say, can't talk to me, we admire what they do. It is because they see a salon don't begin change. And when you go to that place, they not sell no more you sell. The last time we go, the prosthesis, bionic prosthesis, when they do, the project when they don't start, then decide that they will start, forget, when said the first place where they will take as a site will be Sierra Leone, $24 million. An officer spent $50,000 for God himself. $24 million. I asked the woman, why do you want for? He said, this is what they do, not even in the United States. He said, I saw you. I see you talk. I see the passion. And I make a one for starting a salon. And I know say, when I get people, they wait in this service. That is just one travel. Partnership for education. If the world they gather, they say, you don't make so much effort for boost the support for education. We want for make you come. We want for listen to you. We say you put this energy. Why are you so passionate about education? Spread this, infect others. Ladies and gentlemen, it is just but right that I go. If the world decide for after where we don't make a priority, they self-recognize that small country don't provide leadership. They don't show commitment, and they are going ahead with major reforms and investment in education. In spite or despite the COVID-19, we need to recognize them. That is why they invited me to co-chair with the UNESCO Secretary General, Director General, and say this is a meeting now for prepare we for the United Nations Secretary General in meeting. Now you the co-chair. This is recognition. And some of them also now when they talk about education, now when they help me for spread this, this is bad. So when I take credit, I know I have people I share that credit with. When they put them out, me one not be able to spread this. Some of them the organizations they own at the head, education, human capital development, and part of it when they talk about them more passionately than me. So you are partners. And I'm happy for that. And I want to say thank you. And I want to encourage others. We cannot move from where we are. We say we don't care, we self go. As a nation, we'll forget about education if we not take education seriously. None of you will be sitting here without education. I have a humble background. I'm very Chakomot. I don't know for most of you. we had no reason. When our colleagues, when I started, most of them, you see them now, you're not going to recognize them. Why are you here? Education. Me don't see the benefit. And I want to share it with every Sierra Leonean. That is why I have passion for education. I cannot go dropping, pots or this car wash, I put money in and they put for the key. But I know say what they do. If we are all support and it work, we all know say now the most powerful weapon that we will give this nation. Sierra Leone was once they called the Athens of West Africa. Why? Because of the brain power, the energy who they put. Somebody will be the commode paper now, you're going to Cambridge, they know they ask you. They know they question them. We reduce, say we reach that point, with the support we begin them for whole spy for O level. Parent they give money, the teacher hold the money, they provide the way they create a whole value chain from WAEC to the PK inside the classroom. And then the technology, the phone for downloads, the answer, not only the question. That is sweet. That is how far we had gone down. We are fighting all of this. No level of decadence stories. The day when we hear that, it brings me. I had to get up again to say no. We have to fight this because I not believe say I've been there in this country say this they happen. A value chain from WAEC to the beginning. We are killing them. We are killing us. We young future. We are fighting all of this. At the same time, with the fight for keep the economy on track. Nobody no go talk say salary don't go 3-4 months. In those days when the economy is supposed to run fine, we will go 3-4 months. They don't pay salaries. We keep salaries constant. We invest in education. We keep the health system running. It is not the perfect. It cannot be perfect in 4 years. Nations have had to work for hundreds of years. And even if you go to their nation and they describe the health system, the infrastructure, that is the human being. You go visit and not do nothing. We are up to a very great beginning. We will recognize that and continue for work. So when we pay more attention to politics rather than development, that is our greatest fault as a nation. We are so polarized. We only see things in red or green. Never green, white, and blue. So, the kind things we've been saying we don't turn back on violence. There's room for protest. There was a time as opposition leader, I knew I had the youths on my side. I never used that negatively. I could move things in this country for not create problem. But I decided to be on the right part of history. If I move out of here, I'm not being intended for do PhD in the first place. I've always decided I was not going to do that. I said, before I do, I'll go keep Mr. Busey. Give them a space. After I knew the election itself was rigged. And those who were involved know that the 2012 election was won for the sake of peace. I see some intellectual dishonesty in some people when they try to take me away, take credit away from me for peace process. Nobody sent me to go and fetch for the Sanko. Nobody gave me money. The same fly where they fly, and I saw him fly. I said, I will locate him and bring him out. And I brought him out. That was how we started the peace process. That was how we had an interlocutor. So today we are in this milieu of peace with the benefit forget. And some people, when they really want to be dishonest, they say, mother was not involved in that. In fact, he not played a role. For somebody where go to my hometown and kill anybody who looks like me, and kill, and I had to make the sacrifice, I said, I will talk to him, may not kill the other people there. I shook hands with him, then tell me, say, I'm a family, me and you look alike. They say, Mrs. Rebel, call me any name. I have fought for my country, and we continue to fight. I fought at the front, I will fight from behind this desk, and continue until I can no longer, the Lord calls me back. Now don't make a tell and say, the one way don't start this struggle. People thought I was going to come with so much anger and go after people. I'm not that type. My preoccupation is my country. How can we make Sierra Leone a better place? But if you come and you want to disturb the peace, we have promised and we are going to deliver on that. The one that we're responsible, we will seek them anywhere using the laws of our state to punish them. So we have to account. You cannot do this to a state. You know who killed the company in this way. You were so vexed by yourself because he wear uniform, the symbol of the state. He did chop him. He don't die. He or she is no longer alive. He did cut and he set fire upon him. So many years after the Civil War, nearly 2 decades. Is that a protest? People are protesting as I speak for cost of living. They will hold the prices. They will talk about inflation. Ours was Mother Biofogo. Mother Biofogo. I don't set the date. You have the weapon. The ballot. Before, when I know the last time, we be the big forget the date for election at this country. 1 year in advance, I'm transparent. I don't have to say it. When I've said I know the talk, but my actions speak louder than the talk on our America. If I'm one for the manipulate, they say today when I'm for the big, where the date, where the this. The recommendations then we will send in, we'll put into bill, we'll send Parliament, the elections thing. These were things that have been recommended by our partners who have observed our election in the past 2012, 20. They don't pack it, nobody knows. Those are the things we'll put inside that bill. It was not the recommended, just government get for presented. So not to SLPP original proposals of Mother Bill. We don't make the date open. You hate Mother Bill so much, you want to change him. The 24th of June has already been declared. We should be preparing for election. We should be bringing policies out. Bring alternative policies for, say, free education or good. Freeing the women folk, supporting them to be part, an equal part of what they do, enough fine. Bring back the death penalty. Bring back the seditious libel law. Restrict the space. I have opened up the space. We are bringing our women folk on board. We are supporting the children to be better than we are because we all the grown up. That action should speak better than anything English or Creole or where we able to talk to them. These are the efforts, and they don't begin for yield fruit. They don't begin for yield fruit. A nation which was only characterized by some of the worst adjectives there. Today, they remember we until this fateful day, the 10th of August. We change that image. You are stakeholders. That is why I think we need to engage. You don't have to vote for me. you vote for yourself and your country. If you want us to go to the past, your vote counts. It's going to count on that day. Even in the midst of all of this, talking about the economy, we meet inflation hovering around 18, 17, 18. We can count, or if it were not for this international economic crisis, up to 9%, single digit inflation. We clamp with the fed corruption. It's present everywhere in the world. But you should not allow it to choke the development process. And that was what was happening. We decide for FETA. We don't say the FETA way. We know that, but we accept that. But we know say we will get trained past them and we will defeat them. Just so that Sierra Leone goes ahead. We cannot afford to be begging all the time. We can be a better nation. And there are so many things for lay the foundation for that salon we go better. But some people don't even understand, say, now the foundation that we lay. Most of the ministry, let's say mines, if you don't do the legal framework and governance structure there, it doesn't work. We just go end up with craters. We will not be able to account for to begin with. It is painstakingly slow, the development, but it has to be built on a very strong foundation. It is technical. It needs a government that is compassionate and consistent in doing good things and scaling up all the time. That is what we are doing. So, we don't use COVID-19 as an excuse. And one of the statements they made, he so rest in peace, Professor Farmer, in Harvard, say, America should go and learn from you how you dealt with your COVID. Now, one of the professors then, it just passed a few months ago. He was here, the partnership in health, Nakona. He was here several times, and when we go there, we grab for talk, and that is safe. So, ladies and gentlemen, the responsibility to the state for take very seriously. We can all belong to different parties, and we have the right to belong. But we have only one Sierra Leone that we call Sierra Leone, which is our home. I'm not going to drive you now, and nobody knows drive me now. Make no mistake about the one that will be sitting in the Ghana State House. Now that make a rush camp for Sidona State House. Then from where I come back, I can go sleep while they come back to State House. And no can I with bullet too. So no come for me with bullets. I sit down there, I go, put me in uniform. I say no more bullets. I've fed for 15 years. I will go there by the ballot. I'm legally seated there, and my government is legally constituted. If you want to change, the date is the 24th. A few will not go allow them to come 13 weeks anymore. And that should be. And one thing, that is a credit that we have to give to Sierra Leone. We saw what happened in 1997. As a nation, we resisted. I appealed to the military before I left. I said, there is time for every purpose of that. My coup will be the last coup in this country. Don't try it again. When they tried, you refused this country. And that is a credit that goes to all of us. So we can be good people. And we can do great things. And we can take action. We can stop the passivity and actually take action. With all the weapons, you stood your ground. I was not here. I don't want to take that credit. Until that military government come out. We say, however, we remain to this democracy, more experimental rather than we bring in any form. He refused. And that is what we have to say. We have different opinions. We can be at each other's throat, which is not necessarily the best thing. But we don't say, when we have disputes, we know they use violence. When you choose democracy, you put violence behind you. So, civil society, I don't talk too much because I'm not can always talk. And the deficit at the tripod. I talk when it is necessary. I act all the time and talk only when it is necessary. You have to get used to certain leadership style. Not to that person where they go propaganda, empty propaganda, embellish lies and present them as truth. No. We don't present different things then. We are faced with a situation where we need for own up to as a nation. And you being a critical part, because civil society, they are very critical. Critical in their thoughts and critical in the space. That is why I don't call them. What do we make of this? How do we prevent it? And because, somebody asked me, I had 4 people away from income where na business. Even the Vietnam, they say, at the common I go to Vietnam, not that they read the language, I'm not sitting at the city. I go stay inside the swamp, so that they plant the rest. Because we are lack rest. And when any children are like, I go friend, I make sure say, that is why I went that far. The people, the president, he said, they go not to just Saigon. I said, no. I said, they go to the Mekong Delta. And they go inside the swamp. I want to see how they do it. So when the people that they give me reports, they know they give me reports where I don't know about. Why do I go to that length? We left 7 o'clock in the morning until we not can take 2. Because we can only go there by road. So, I want for make a brainstorm, and in a very short way, I'm not say, when I get on our thoughts, this happened, we all witness them, especially the one that went in that part of the town. When I see, when I read, when I then at the cyberspace, when I see what the people that they do. And how then they incite violence, how the violence they happen, how will they see the little when they try for build and the bottom, then they try for create the biggest capital of any nation, and the social capital that really keeps us together. Mina Temleman, Mina Mendeman, Mina Fula is. That is the greatest capital for any country. We don't see people then for their selfish ends. When they read the hate message, when they put tagging certain ethnic groups. That was how it started in Rwanda. So that is another thing we, as a nation, we must fight against. We must talk against. We must fight it. Nobody can not determine which tribe you come before you come. You are born into an ethnic group. Like it or not, you are going to be, that ethnic group. Whether you speak the language or not, even because people are born in a particular ethnic group, but they talk the language. So we have a series of problems, but we are faced with the 10th of August violence. And it's mind-boggling, and we need to find a way. So I hand you over back to the moderator. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Like you see, the engagement is not two-way. But we say we get beaucoup CSOs than I am, we there, and wait till we time for Luna for make sure say we get people and we the talk, we go represent probably sects within the CSO space. So on that note, I want to first call the president for the Sierra Leone Association of Journalists for just can make short reaction and suggestions as part of the discussion.
Mr. President, the Honorable Vice President, Ministers of Government, colleagues from the civil society space, and family who watch now us. I want to tell you afternoon, and I want to tell the President, thank you for inviting me to come to this program and give thoughts about what will happen and give some of the ideas that we'll get on how we move forward as a nation. So last start first by condemning what is happening on August 10 and preceding incident that will happen, and also send out the condolences to the families of the one who lost their lives, the police officers, the civilians as well. And I want to see what is happening. We all have to take responsibility for the government, the opposition, the security sector, the media, CSOs, the traditional and religious leaders, and the Syrians, the diaspora as well. We all this and we'll take the blame. And soon as sober, we all have to move forward and to resolve the issue and ensure that the nation will stable. If we get the correctional center, will be like freedom. I would recommend we always spend some time there. Some form of mindset rehabilitation before they reach about the society and to communities. But since we're not getting one day, and I'm for tell the President thank you for this kind of engagement. We will also will serve that kind of purpose day. But it's very good. Very President talk, the must be hand up. It talk from my heart. This is the kind of conversation that we want to hear from him. Correction answer, not too busy. And so the President talk on something very important. He does talk in passing. But it was all important here. Yeah. Politics. And we all know. Too much politics. So we for bite down. The politics they don't divide me across the middle. They don't divide every sector. No sector, all sides. And they divert and distract the government to focus on the new direction going from the Sierra Leoneans. With too much politics also, they promote hate and hypocrisy among Sierra Leoneans. And also they undermine patriotism and nationalism. And peace, and of course, national cohesion. With too much politics back, you don't erode all the core values that we get as a nation. Labor and expect, you know the dignity in labor, you know the excellence, dedication, integrity, and trust. All the values that they got lost because of politics. And so I agree with the President on that. Say, we need to pipe down this politics. As long as we put politics aside, we don't want Sierra Leone, we don't want people. Focus and ensure we do the right things for country. I listened to the President make a statement, official address to the nation when we return, just after the incident that happened. Tell me, after I return and say, the President be angry. So they say, no, not be angry, respond, but to me, be angry. And as the President, if you're the last person who gets angry, if you want to get angry, no vex. You approach, forbid that, tell people, you understand the problem. People don't get it. And that's the thing we try to do for addressing the problem there. But that not good now. The license to take the law into our hands. So what is the right talk? Like the President said, we need to talk about the problem here, then we all need to play a role to ensure we contribute to how to solve the problem here. And at the same time, punish the lawbreakers following the due process of the law. Because every society is alone, definitely, that's what they have been. So the book we say back there, no, we sit down and talk man to man, always, and for the President of the States for the day. every time, regularly, from period to period. And we are all now leaders, we don't speak the work by people look up to me. People who they control, they look up to me. We don't say we're very influencing people today with the right thinking, the right mindset, and the right approach on how we hold government to account and how we force to contribute to debate the way to on national issues. So that same type of approach, and I need to use spending of splash. I don't achieve so many things under this current government. Because of the approach, one of them I say, no, me not the president who they can begin to press this, or who they can begin to challenge government, and government go na bathroom, go press this, government go there, and press this. No, therefore engage. Go engage with the police always a bit free. No, don't get it, don't talk to them. No, we work together. The army, as powerful as the army. No one day, sit down and talk with the media. No, don't get them to talk to me. They go to the office, what's it called? Sign an MU, say, it's going to be all better. And we all get the role for play of democracy. We don't have security, we don't have media, and we provide information to the people. So why don't we work together? And we want to work in the public interest. So once we understand that one day, now we help people do work, we set up, now we do work. So now we talk. Unlike before. Before any have to press release. Press release is of nothing. I want to talk more. If you don't engage and understand, if you don't talk to the person, if you will break her down, even the hardest position you get, it will break them down. So now address the position small. Now, the position needs to change in approach to governance. As a political party or as a political group, the responsibility that will provide alternative to the government. You know, shadow government, and you know, the government is waiting. So the government say, well, they can't be bridge from here to Lunge. As a position, what do you expect? What do people expect from you? They will say, okay, government, this is a good idea. But the government say, we can't build bridge. It costs so and so amount, and it will take so many years, so years to do it. As a political party, or as a political group, we expect to say, if we say, okay, government, this is a good ambition, but we will do it from now to 5 years or 10 years, a long-term project. If we build in a government, that's what we do. We go buy ferry first. We go buy 3 ferry, then come put down for. This is the challenge for travel from here to Lunge and come back. And it will cost less. Those are the kind of alternative ideas in one political position we put together. But people go meet in a small group setting and they say, the government will pull on power. We pull on power. That's not the approach. And I also want to talk briefly on the diaspora. Surveillance in the diaspora. First, there is a group who don't help salon. When they send their families and loved ones, they push the economic effect. Who will get? Nowadays, most of them, and then they share there, inside to be used there, all is there. And then they share there. Because they get limited data. They share. All now don't focus on the politics and salon. What's they do, Banana? Seriously, what do they do, Banana? They get TV, unregulated TV, online audio, every legal program. And they talk about things they know very little about. Who they are, who they are, how you get the information. That's the kind of information you get. So when they contribute for layer born, then when we don't come back, just nobody will come back. So the relation that they are asleep them for the rest of their lives. So contribute to the development and peace and stability of the nation, not undermine them. I don't talk, let's say, the media and the state. Let's say the media are a reflection of the society somebody. No excuse somebody. I'm not be the best people for judge me or tell me how we don't operate and approach to do. I don't talk to one. But I will say, under His Excellency, we don't make great development for the media. Repeat, we don't get to over 50 years. We don't buy any plan, we don't move more space. Although we don't get the cyber security law, we can get back. But then begin review some sections there. Because under the space also, you don't get a shrink back. And people need to understand what the law, they say the law day. When it comes to elections, until they change them by the law, and the commissioners say, well, we all know but let's go for all about. So if you're going to make implement, we go back. They have to go to the police. People need to understand what I am. For big alliance, the instructions they hopefully say, you know, okay, the infringement on rights. If we talk freely, the whole government to account, the responsible manner, let them review back. And make sure say, now the law will can protect the cyberspace, but the law will can limit the cyber-based freedom of expression and freedom of other things. So the media said, this is a big problem. We said divided. And the middle. The president, when the president gave speech that day, the one is what they call night watch. Before the incident, during the incident, he said, the concrete, Adebayo is popular than President Bio. After the president gave speech, the next day, aftermath of August 10, President Bio is in control. So it's just a change, right? See? So we say that problem. You say as a leader, that is right, to do my best for solve the problems. But how to solve them? Not possible. You got to do my best. The same way with the president. The problem of Salon is so many that no president will solve all the problems. And like onion shells, as you peel one, other one day. As you peel one, other one day. So you can only do your best, and posterity will judge you. So now, so you don't do. And lastly, and finally, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, I want to talk to the police, to the civilian police. We mourn with them, the lost officers, we all only the wish for that. So we mourn with them and tell them much for that. But we also want to remind them, say, they're responsible for the safety and security of the civilians, with the population. So they are letting only have small, and then they make sure, say, they keep an account of the civilians who don't die in this program here, and this incident to happen. They can keep an account of the one who will arrest, and then they make sure, say, they get access to justice. But only that, no people. Whatever bad out and bad, no people. God gives really for bad with. So we call on the president for intervening that area, they will make sure they respect, because the images they will show, they show internationally. It's all over. All the credible news outlets, BBC, Al Jazeera, I'm not getting angry. And now let me get back, let me make sure that image is the back of extrajudicial killings. They talk about that in the news, BBC, Al Jazeera, they talk about that. There's a lot of images for dependency, not for Wilani, not for Salonani, we don't pass that stage 20 years ago. Why don't we that happening back to me? And then I need to use for evaluation now. As in the use of Salon. So definitely next year, we will not drop freedom index, we will not drop peace index, we will not drop freedom of the press index. Definitely. All the way for drop because of the incident all down to the office. So then they get it by name. Most of the government, the way people of Salon. And then names to Allium. They go out, they active as they do come out when I see come out. They active, you're not Salonian. I did that. That's your identity. So, by way of expressing the young concern on behalf of SLAJ, the media, and say elections they come, the media gets a very big role to play, and we're going to engage with international partners for see how the media will be central to make sure they get free, fair, non-violent, and credible elections. And we hope they will intervene and see they support the media, because the media said, if not some attention for now, then we'll create the war will not ever live back in a salon. We see the division, the politics. We see how they cover the events. This is a one section, they say it's not attack on democracy. But that section they say it's not bloodbath. Everybody gets young. Then you should say we divided. Just take a woman, you call the sympathy, you know, so we are divided. But we don't train is there. We don't train, but who they put other interests above the public interest, then they make the only thing here. You put sexuality aside, you put ethics aside, you begin support them freely, blindly. So it's a very good call for me. We will learn lessons from this. And because as a nation, don't want to keep silent. Don't we talk. If we don't talk before, when it's happening, the Revolution Party don't ever come out and talk, say, we people in a salon, the supporters saying, don't listen to Adebayo, no Adebayo. Don't listen to the modern way, pass to. Also true. But then they play with them because they didn't in favor. Because when the government become unpopular, then they get an opportunity to go to the elections and win. That is not right. We all that responsibility to support the government of the day for achieve what they plan to achieve, not for undermine them. When you undermine them, we don't undermine the state. Because they get the legitimacy. How we elected? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The President of Sahel Association of Journalists, we will move the conversation forward. We now also invite the President for the Sahel Bar Association.
The governance space and democracy
President don't call me fan because give me the opportunity we all express ourselves and give that kind of platform where not been there before. The incidents that were happening August 10, it really sad, terrible. In fact, as Sierra will all not be feel so we will ever go again as Sierra Leoneans. Most of we now we put press statements them for condemn the act in the strongest of terms. But then I'm gladly for this initiative on how we will go before. From that side, they're waiting cause them. And then who side we did now and how we will move forward for make sure see that kind of thing they not happen again. Because as the president said, the image where Salon will get out there, like an image of tolerance, an image where they say, oh, Salon people are we nice, we good, we don't move on past the war, we don't get successful elections, not to one term, not to two term, so we don't move ahead. So this thing will happen now, take me back. I was in shock while I watched the video and they are not able to believe say mortal man will able to do this to him company just because in your mind this is the state or this is not the enemy. So at this point we therefore go back. Why this thing happened? We all know say this thing, although it faceless, it was fueled by incitement. People then work on people and vulnerability them and use them, small picking them, most of them are young youths, use them for they use their vulnerability and make them do them kind bad and terrible thing they are. So for me, I think say we all for take responsibility as sludging president don't say. As leaders then our various corner them waiting we they do for stop their rhetorics there. Waiting we they do for make sure say this kind of way where then they wash them people there not happen. Are we in our space by non-action or by action fueling these things? So like how this large president say some newspaper they get out and will report something, some newspaper they get out and will report them. Are we fueling these things? So now look at these things and think with your own judgment, search yourself and say, what could I have done for make sure say this team not reach that level again? So for me, as I don't say, as we say in press release association, we condemn this totally. And we ask that the investigation go on and that them punish not only the one them way commits the act, but they also go beyond that to the one them way incite. So they will not say, at least this is not done and this cannot be tolerated. Furthermore, I'll go one step further. I know say we all know say we always the law. I know when police are more going to talk. Police are more going to talk. But there are law and order in our society, not for a reason, not for sanity, not for protect me and you. So we appeal to all citizens say, try for be law abiding, use the correct processes for address your concern. So as they say, president for common because XYZ do this. Time don't day for that. Wait day for that. Means day for that. Election day, you go to the ballot also for come back and say, okay, we can pull on this kind of way. And then protest, rights to protest. We all know say under the laws of Sierra Leone, we guarantee say yes for giving rights for protest. But also this same law, he will process how for go about them thing and day. So, and for reason, and for protect the ordinary citizens. So you cannot just come out and say, okay, I can't protest, when you know say, there's a tendency for them hooligans to hijack this protest and do what they want to do. So police in assessing will always say, how are they protect citizens? What do you mean one for recommend and encourage the police? When somebody make an application to you for say or notify you, okay, it's not an application, when you notify say I want for do process, I would suggest that the process of determining or assessing whether you will allow this process or not, this possession or not, or this protest or not, for be more consultative. Not to just police the right to say, no, I disallow you. It will be engaging. So if you come to me, say, okay, I want to do this protest for X, Y, Z. If we sit down like so, we talk. Me as police, for example, theoretically, will say, now this now we concern, they will make no one give you this. But if you guarantee me, say, okay, this process, you confine them to this small area, you get like 100 people, not to 1,000 people, they're not going to disrupt the area. They're all identified maybe with t-shirts or something. We'll be able to contain them for them, we're able to secure with citizens. At least police have to see reasoning. So basically that dialogue day for day, you know, the dialogue with themselves, honor citizens, the need for law protests, because it's a right. So more make sure say we encourage the police for make sure say when they do their determination, then be consultative and they engage. Also, I want to touch on we also know say this hate speech and bigotry. It's first in the non-existence, but now it is here. And if we don't need panel board now, we go regret because we don't know how it go metamorphose later on. So we want to call on Mr. President. As president, you are also the head of your political party. So I want to take the initiative for call on you fellow political party leaders. Make una do something like a declaration. Do something like a declaration against hate speech, tribal bigotry, and do some kind of undertaking, because as political party leader, make no mistakes about it, they control a wide range of people. If as the leader are not able to say, we they condemn hate speech and tribal bigotry, and anybody in our party will make statements as such, we go punish them. When make them openly and everything like that, it go nip on the board. So when somebody at party level or at any other level say something like that, if you get punitive measure in una party, it will stop them for do that day. So I want for encourage Mr. President to take that initiative day, reach out to your fellow political party leadership for let una do this declaration and undertaking denouncing tribal bigotry and commit to ourselves say anybody under una control or una party way make them kind statements and they una will punish them. I think that will help. Also, / journalists una get responsibility not for publish if una able, not for publish then kind rhetorics and days. So when somebody may come, if una see an editorial or something, una say no, this will not be published because it is fuel tribal. We don't want something happen in Rwanda for happening. It's crazy. So we all know whatever we get for do, we all get with differences. But when it comes to that, before people stand out and say, no, we are Sierra Leoneans, we are not going down this road. Then finally, I don't want to take too much on that time. I want to thank Mr. President because he decided to give civic funeral to the police officers then we lost their life. It means the government value them and value their service. But in addition to that, I just want to ask that the government create a victims fund for the people that were them police officers and they would all lost their lives, so they get family them, they picking them, so they get aged parents where all of a sudden they all lost their source of income. So at least if the government create that sort of fund there, we will say, okay, for them people there, at least we take care of in picking 2 person in family or in mama. It sort of give that kind of assurance to the one that we left for say to all serving personnel for say if I died in active service or something like this. Also just that standard, come someone say you don't serve, they give. Imagine somebody die when just 3 years they don't serve the force. Waiting and go do for a family. So if that fund they did, government create that funding, it will reassure serving police, all serving personnel. So if I die in active duty, my people they just not left so. My mama not go turn big and man by. The beginning will get some sort of support until they able to stand for themselves. I just want to say thank you to everybody now, and I hope say whilst we the new contribution, they will just remember with responsibility for make salon. That responsibility now we all get them, not to one person, me, you, and everybody else. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We will now invite the Women's Forum, Sierra Leone, when Sally Adako can talk for them. We also now the advice make we make the contributions very short, because at least one for time for wrap up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, His Excellency, retired Brigadier Investment Review, Vice President Mohamed Juliet Jallo, ministers all present here, my colleagues in society and women's level all there. Actually for Tinapia, for representing the Women's Forum, Sierra Leone, when are the mama for all the women's group there? We don't ever call her mama because Women's Forum not there for 28 years. We even all them solutions there, Women's Forum not pass through. For example, not taken from the Civil War, pack out peace, for the St. Paulette, Women's Forum is part of them. We know the process. We took up the Women's Forum last year as one of the young person. Because all along now, for the past 60 years, 70 years. So I want to tell you, but we don't call me actively. Because as we women in this country, we're ready for this kind of engagement. Why? Because we know state Sierra Leone, or any time where trouble happen, like August 10. And before August 10, other instead happen when a small group of women come out say they want protest against government, they say because cost of living don't there. But we as women we know say cost of living everywhere. So that first what happened when we are condemned and talk say, oh, this is wrong. Because we know the way something happen, we women that will begin and they suffer the most. But as the slash man talk say, he says Sierra Leone, we don't well this country and politics. And even at Napia for example, the Women's Forum. Because I know the Women's Forum gets over 300 registered women's group all over this country. We not just baby who grab yesterday. No. As you talk about politics not divide, even women's group. You go come for work for start the country, but you get others there because of their selfish ends. The people of this country not for go before. So I will talk again on behalf of the woman as Hechi talk say how we want to follow we go. What do we go do for some of them problems that will not happen on the show? We're not glad. We're not glad. Because if this kind of incident happened on August 10, Women's Forum, we condemn it totally. And we, as women's people talk say, Mr. President and the team, who will they pay? Because even that day, some of them are bombarded, we get where we get the whole number in this country. We're not going to men and copy them bad image in this country. When they talk say, the perpetrators there, when we this act? Pardon to book. And the other hand of the site, social media, they go people that used to them, ask the woman them, I didn't group them. You ask the woman, you want that kind of protest and you don't think about speaking away bomb like us. I can say if self man come out, you go say, hey, no go don't think about speaking. But you get woman the way they get put on the support. And we don't say somebody not go just God do something if you're not gonna support her. We talk about dialogue again, I say dialogue. How we dialogue? The dialogue first between yourself, before you can support him. Dialogue na two way. Inside yourself, then you meet other person na dialogue. But how about dialogue? The one that will do the act. Who don't know them? You study them? I study them? We don't know them. And we number one, as the women's group, we number one, medicality, I continue because we continue. We begin to suffer. Now we don't see how the country they go before. We don't want to go back there again. So, with all women's, I talk before the women in this country. I heard women's forum say 1 year. Women's civil society group. And they talk now say, Mr. President, enough is enough. It's time we shame the one them we want to put CBN. Because if they like today, we begin them. They go to school this summer, this time again, this season, we begin them, but don't go summer school. But then they look at what happen. They never go to school. They sit down. Some of them want to exam classes then. You don't say education they transform in this country. They never go to the classes then. So, I don't say where I talk. They don't take me say because of even the tribal because the way Madam is talk about. Now every day people that they start people that talk about tribalism, hate speeches. How many women's group them talk say this is not good for our country or this is not good? No, because someone feels say no more. Salon for go before, and most of them know they be so. I for the selfish things. And this country, if we want to say the truth, Salon not for go before. So, Mr. President, one of the recommendations then, if they go to Mr. Rado Swami, because the social media, it don't bad off. And then you see all kind of incitement. Boss woman them, like by this person don't go so. So I want to know how we get for make sure say the social media, the wrong things already happen. Like for example, the one that they oversee. How they call them Adebayo waiting. How not them forget big of Adebayo. Because Adebayo, I want to put away the inside to put the kid. They're young. Some of you wait to get them, get 2 points. But to get alone, I wait to get it. If not careful, first Adebayo they kind and you follow as they all when they start on social media, you don't want them to oversee the still on their idol. God forgive you, statements. So, Mr. Minister, please, when I go for wake up for ensure say social media will continue small. The election they cancel. I'm not going to talk much. Mr. President, once more, we thank you, the Vice President and team. And we hope say all those who don't die again, we all will work with each other instead of with the bashback say, let's say, all of the ones are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sally. And now I also want to call Center for Accountability and Rule of Law, Ibrahim Tommy, who also can make reactions and suggestions, and also allow focus on very short and only reactions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sandy. His Excellency the President, do you allow me for stand on the existing protocols for make a few remarks. First, I want to thank you for we convene this meeting, but of course not the first time this government they meet with civil society organizations. There is a CSO government dialogue forum where we colleagues Marcella, Angela Valley and John Coker, they lead. We have met I think twice, and in this same room we don't previously meet as civil society leaders. And so we acknowledge the dialogue, and I use that deliberately, between the government and civil society. But make I just say that tomorrow, Mr. President, as a community, civil society community, we will meet tomorrow and take a kind of position we hopefully will help inform your action, and I'm sure we will have recommendations for your government. You say you invite you now for reflect or comment on two main things. Wait till we make of the events of August 10 and perhaps the days thereafter. and what we for do, the government and we in civil society. Make I say that, speaking for myself, and I hope for civil society in general, we condemn outright the violence, the bloodshed of law enforcement officers and civilians, innocent citizens, and I want to express sincere condolences to the bereaved families. As we don't always say in civil society, we support the right of citizens to demonstrate peacefully. There is no doubt about that. In a democracy and in your address, your national address, Mr. President, you talk about that. In a democracy, there is a right for peaceful assembly and for demonstrate peacefully. But what we see on August 10 was anything but a peaceful demonstration. It was an act of violence, and we believe that those acts of violence must be investigated. Those responsible must be brought to justice. And we're not just talking about the law enforcement officers and we regrettably lose their lives, but also civilians and we die on that day and the days thereafter. We think, say, this engagement, Mr. President, who you don't convene, and I listen to the Chief Minister, one of the proposals we may make is that it is really important that we have this community outreach program. I'm happy that the Chief Minister talks to the one for next month, because then half meetings they are good, but I don't think say they do the thing. Making sure that we have a robust community, and I should add actually media outreach program, because it's not just, we've done a bit of media work, I guess, but I think what has been missing, and since we asked for recommendations, I think we need for now start from meet with various sections of the society, the youth. To be honest, Mr. President, I'm glad that you spoke a lot about the programs, and I have to admit that you have done quite a lot in terms of education, legal reforms, accountability, and all that. But as you self-acknowledge, there are significant economic challenges we all for collectively help for address. So in them community outreach programs there, I'm hoping that we will talk about what government don't do, what government not able to. And this is the thing, we've got to be honest. There are some things government cannot do. You have to tell the people that some things are not to government role. It's your role. If you are failed as a person, as a family, as a community, let's say it. Waiting government for doing enable do, let's say why government never do them. And as you said, Mr. President, Sierra Leoneans are good people. They understand as long as you meet them in their own spaces with the right messages, with the right tools, they will understand and they will accompany you. Now, I think there's also something to be discussed about politics. Everybody don't talk about politics. And I agree with the sentiments that I expressed among everybody about politics. And we are in a situation where we need frank discussions about the country, what's our country did. We all want development, we want progress. Your government don't do a lot, and there are challenges. It's about time that, especially as we approach elections, we create a space for discussion also with politicians on the other side. They have a role to play. I agree with you, Monk. But if you're in the opposition, you have a role to play to make sure that this country is at peace. Because if this country is not at peace, even if you take over power, which is all politicians say their job is to win elections, right? That's the job of politicians. But if you win election in a very divided country, you cannot govern well. So there is a need. But as I can always say, a person pull a hand, as Obama can say, you start to stretch your hand. They not shake hands when your fists are clenched. And it's okay for us to be divided as a country along political lines. That's what I believe. You don't have to be APC, you can be APC. It's perfect. It's a democracy. You don't have to all belong to one political party. But what is not right, let me say this, Mr. President, is for make you use that political division and make it like an ethnic division. Many man and they with the APC, tin man and they with the SLPP, vice versa. Let nobody for your selfish interest, you will listen to me, make you believe so because Mina to me and Mina and Mendema and therefore are bad for you. I work for an organization where there are people from all different ethnic groups. We don't talk about ethnicity in our organization. And in our daily lives, we don't talk about ethnicity. Now, only way you can for pull SLP in power, or for put APC in power, or for pull APC in power, put SLP in power, now they talk of tribe. It's wrong. But Mr. President, a specific recommendation that is, in addition to the outreach, where they recommend, I think we also need for work with the Intelligence Council for make sure we start for meet more actively with politicians on the other side. I want to conclude because Mr. President indicates we know that plenty time for just say to my colleagues in civil society that we serve daily responsibility. We have a huge role. Sometimes we know the talk. When we for talk and when we talk and half truth, we can be politically correct. Sometimes we define the flames of division, divisiveness. Maybe we don't hope say after this statement too, we don't make now they not go put my name on another list, right? You have all seen the list, right? But I always tell people I will never ever be flustered. I'm too old to be flustered by what people say about me or the animosity they direct towards me. I'm too old. So just let me study. I'll say my mind when I need to. In the last 4 years, His Excellency, all of you would acknowledge that we don't hold His Excellency government to account. We don't put out reports against Parliament. I don't call out the police. We don't do everything, but it doesn't matter. Only becoming a man in ICPP. Now, then, when the other person talk on IPC, the other person talk, if you continue for listening to those voices, you're not going to help your country. So I also decided for now remain right in the middle, say your mind in a very constructive way, help your country. If you don't want to help your government, help your country, because at the end of the day, you have only one country. I want to thank you once again, Mr. President, and I hope this engagement will continue, not just with you, but actually with members of the government and more importantly, at the community level. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim. Like President say, part of the protest also be include a lot of picking them as well. So where we'll try for segments, people are ready for talk, for represent different shades within the society. We also try to look at national level represent picking them. So I will call Mr. Manaf Kemukai. We represent Defense for Children International. His Excellency, President, Honorable Vice President, Ministers, and everyone, good afternoon again. We know to Pekino. But of course, I don't say anytime they invite me for can speak to an audience, they go all speak on behalf of Pekino. But I also want to declare and I say, Pekino back very capable to represent their own voices. So I know they have to represent their voice. So in that respect, I really hope and recommend that this engagement, the president will also get out the kingdom. I want to join again all others for condemn a violent protest, and even more importantly, for condemn the one them who involved the kingdom into that protest, whether directly or indirectly. And that result to the arrest and detention of at least 38 kingdom. 24 in Freetown, 5 in Makeni, 4 in Kamakwe, and 5 in Mabroka, including 10 girls. And the way President will say, nobody know they apply for show who say they want to learn or who strive they want to promote. So then the we involved in the NTR.
especially the one where the Eastern, and circumstances, because that incident took place beside the day. If not lovely than the day or hill station, definitely they're not for that arrested. So I appeal to the president and the government for no use criminal prosecution against them, picking them. Well, deal with them as picking them, try for trace their families and reintegrate them after probably warning, and also educate them about what to protest mean, and if you want for protest, if now you're right, how to go about it. Sierra Leone, one of the problems we get, and I speak now again from NGO programmatic points of view, as well as our engagement with government over the years. And the fact is, since after the war, we just respond, react. Even the program they all design, they're all tailored towards reaction, response. To the extent that we wait when something happens, boom, we all begin to run helter-skelter. I just imagine one time way late Khadija, that small became way in that rape case, the amount of people will come, it was as if this thing not only happen as a right, because that's what we don't use for respond. But this is a time for make a shift. We need to invest more in prevention. We really need prevention program. And for me, in this area, the National Council for Civic Education and Development is really, really important, as well as the Ministry of Information. The government will really invest in the institution even more. They expand the outreach program them, and also some of them program them for the children and youth led. I want for also remind all of we, I say, the government don't do a lot, but make sure say dialogue or areas then they for make complaint, but not enough. Government for expand complaint mechanism. With the hospital too much that's alone. And anytime, also you could really know say people that get a lot for talk about. And anytime government make effort for establish one institution for receive complaint, you see so many people are overcrowded. Go FSU, go legal aid board, and so on and so forth. So which means we need more of this. Because when you agree, and you actually go say they go there complain and they listen to you, I think they help you for solve the problem. And more importantly, for picking them, and they really, really advocate on behalf of the picking them for the government of Sierra Leone ratify the optional protocol 3 with the on communication. Actually, this the act government for establish mechanism to say picking and they can lay complaint when they agree. Because if picking agree, they don't need for good at police. They're not too child-friendly. But institutions, therefore, they will actually receive, picking and complain, listen, and also address that. So, again, since the President and the moderator don't remind me, say, we're not for talk, I want to say thank you to everyone. And thank you, President, for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kemokai. I'm glad the way the grant told me say, I think the CSO like for meet and then discuss and then get a position that will present to government. So I think on that note, we hope to see most of the views where they express now from the different segments within the CSOs will represent the collective views, and we look forward for the position where they can come up with, where they will meet at the level. We will expect, say, for now we'll make short comments then. So from people that we don't work with CSOs and back from government side. So we want to limit out to probably 2 minutes, short one then. And we start to invite our Samaritan Executive Secretary for the Independence Commission for Peace and National Cohesion, our Samaritan.
Excellencies, Honorable Vice President, honor and protocol observed. We want to tell we colleague
So we colleague there similar to civil society, the men are still civil society. One hotel we colleague there all plenty thank you for we all come get ISO and for come pack the way forward. You know, say ask for talk after you colleague they don't talk because most of them cannot talk. So much of waiting, then I mind for talk. But nevertheless, I want to tell we civil society say we've always been there. Now we always did it. Whether you be media, whether you be women activists, just imagine from the water, civil society, we always did in a record say we participate. Betumani 1, Betumani 2, Betumani 3. We always did. Send draft documents in advance for 2 weeks for me to look at them before una send back. He said, I make una get problems, so right now it's we for validate the document. We tell them, say, because we want to be open, fair, and make una own the peace process in a salon. Which are they trying to say? I try to say, civil society, we are the bedrock of peace in a salon. Whether you like it or not. Why? Because now we they go to the community. Now we they work there. We get different programs there, more they interact with the community. A lot of people there, even from all the past engagements they were done witness, one of the things they were all man they talk about now that we for go down at the roots to the community. And this is what we already they plan. And we not go able forget we all. Yes, the commission they do a mapping of stakeholders them right now in the country. But we not go able for work for all man because not to work with all man because not all man they work on this. But nevertheless, no matter what you they do now in space, make sure say you promote this. You they reach so many people. Even if government can put money, all the donors they can put money, we not go able to reach everybody in the country. But you they reach that set of people now your own space. How we all go get the same message? How we all go push this message now with different sectors then. This is now one of the things they want to get for talk with we now the commission and now we go work in terms of messaging. Next month now International Peace Month. And the theme for the world now end racism and then we promote peace. For Salon, we don't call one message, we say end tribalism and then we promote cohesion. It just fits perfectly. This problem not in itself. We don't plan all this. Now, it fits perfectly. How we will also promote this? As we said, the Lord don't come, but they say, all next time, God will carry this message for the next few months. But what thing you go do in your community? How you go help in your newspaper? How you go help in the office where you work for promote this is in your way? Trust me, civil society, but I remember yesterday to today, the amount of one that we call me say they want to be part of this meeting. This one state has not going to do for all the one that we phone me say they want to be part of this meeting. Imagine the one that they watch me, the civil society that they watch me on TV, in their own space all over the country. If everybody, elected education they do, you promote peace education. Whether not they get over whether they work with you, promote peace education. Even in governance, promote peace education. The kind of impact where we go make. Then you, as civil society person, be an ambassador. You not be seen being a hate preacher in what you do. Let we become the role model. If we become the role model, plenty of people work with youth and young people then they will emanate me. They will want for target how you feel. And then we will get the change where we want for sin Sierra Leone. But if we not be example, just like when we brother or sister, they don't say even our institutions then we're so divided, then what will they preach? Now a divided nation. So now we own us. As Sierra Leoneans, as civil society, and even you when they watch me now all say, I don't choose for me to change where Salon need. What happened the 10th, really it not be for happening. If you have been listening to that interview we have been do the 98. Some by the time I come on, they tell me say I'm presidential spokesman. What you do because I tell them say, if me have been the IG of police, that rally they not be for council. That rally they not be for hold. What you do because the one when we get faced when we dialogue with that 10 day, it tell we say, if the bike rider then join the rally, they're not able for control them. So if you're not able to control the people that way they rally with you, then what do you expect the police for do? They're not able to control the rally. So based on that kind of conversation there, it means we're not able for control the rally. So the police then be absolutely right for cancel that. So Julia, let me be example. That's a campaign owner today. Let me be example, and then we will get a united Serbia. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We also call the executive chairman for NASID, where they also the interface with the CSO system from the government side.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Honorable Vice President, the Chief Minister, other government functionaries, and we colleague them, civil society and the media. You know, Your Excellency, the day when that riot starts, I believe in AYV, and they talk about how we can roll out the civic education book STEM into the curriculum and school system. Fortunately, we don't publish 7 books STEM from class 1 to GSS 3. The president will urge you from the beginning say, he believes say, for teach civics in school in this country. And not be no say, if you get some 6 cents, we know say that kind of thing you get for happen. So he insists for getting school books them. So the schools them, where school people they start for teach the books them and civics and schools them. That same day, I invite some of our colleagues them. We be in a NESA conference, not a NESA conference, the Minister of Information in Conference Center. We call NEC, ECSL, Shadi, other institutions. We will develop, we do message development seminar. That seminar day we say we will support ECSL for get out ideas then what you for tell people then towards this legislation with the camp. And one of the people then, very smart guy, he say, let us do it the salon way. And what's like the salon way, let people register and vote and choose whether they want for continue what this good man done they do all these 4 years, or they want for change that. And the man don't talk about. He don't give it before 1 year, he don't give the date when the election will take place. So now I don't call up my colleagues them, all of you. We in a small institution, we just begin. We always call on when I want to work with you now. Do you want to help we? The cow, the Mongo don't talk. The cow, everybody don't talk. When I know me, I don't work with you now before. And we don't hear from the president when I know saying hard day, and I can't hear. Do you when I all genuine, Mongo reach out to them communities then they where a hand for each, where they not get radio, where TV no daily. Now foot to foot. Now go for go miss them and talk to them, make them understand all of them here. So where the president talk about. And then we're not going to deny say all of what the president don't tell me say until we don't welcome. We don't say what you know here. And he don't tell me say go for talk. In just they do here, Moko continue for educate people because on civil say somebody go there that part will say the president don't run away, all the ministers they don't run away, don't want to come, take government. No. The idea of protesting for livelihood issues is not for take government, not for change government. Now for ask the government, make you do what it for do, for help you, for make the country go. And the president tell me what the government they do all of the time. But we don't want to for tell the people they don't respect you and pass me, people they don't want to send me pass we, they all go help we for more voice for reach out to the communities there. So we look forward for that engagement, we always ready for work with you and we respect you a lot for the things they want to do, and individual corners there and individual spaces there. We say on a place, thank you, and honor this invitation.
Thank you very much. So now we will come invite the Chief Minister to just can summarize all the suggestions they will make before President will close the.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you very much, the civil society community. I think we got several suggestions, far more than the suggestions we'll get. The first one, see, for depoliticize our daily actions. I think that goes without saying. This place is so green and red, so we need for the green and the red the place somehow. Then justice, bring perpetrators to book, that's in place. Continuous community engagement and group engagement. Of course, the police should be fully accountable and therefore uphold the rule of law. That's also a suggestion made. Then there's a call for appeal to citizens to be law-abiding. They engage on all requests for protest. I mean, the bar association say we police for listening to people and consult with them in terms of their request for protest, both in terms of the numbers, the routine, and maybe the conditions. Then joint declaration against hate speech to be made together with political parties and suggestion, victims fund or compensation to police officers, whatever. There's a suggestion there. There's also a suggestion of control of social media and enforcement of cybercrime. Then community and public engagement. Then collaboration with interreligious council to engage with political parties. There's a suggestion coming. Engage with children and pardon them. Somebody will call for pardon the children. Two family trees and reunite them, warn them, and the like. Then invest in national institutions for civic education and communications. That's in place. Then we establish more complete mechanisms. These are the big things we officially mentioned. Some of them are very much in line with what others have mentioned, but we will take note of them all. They will do a program. But let me just say, you are definitely our pillar for sustained peace and promotion of national cohesion. We will get back to you very soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we invite His Excellency the President for a closing remarks, since I invite you for calm and make also tell you its thoughts and then close the program, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, the Press Secretary. We don't get extensive discussions, and I find them quite interesting, some of the suggestions, not strange, not new, but from where we started the commodity and why they consider them. I think one that really we have to think about, we have to say really need to think about now about the politics of this country. Every country gets politics, but politics is different. And that politics, they affect waiting for, actually, in your opinion, politics fine, everybody involved, but the most important thing what we need to do as a nation is development. You know, development in every sense of the word, political, economic, social, for we make progress, make a life day, make the life better for we. But because we don't allow too much politics, it doesn't take over all the things then. The other things we are not being talked about. Now, really, we talk about all the problems from COVID to how it don't affect to the global economic crisis, to Ukraine, supply chain disruptions, the rise of inflationary pressures we suffer from. Down there, all around the world, we don't ever use anything there as an excuse. Where till we go straight to the answers. How do we protect our own people, pushing the effect of all of this? When they beyond, we own control, so that salon, that now we own, when anything that happen around the country, you a parent, now a house, a young place for protecting young people, picking them. That is what we have been doing. We don't waive taxes on all essential commodities. We don't take one penny. But waiting some people they talk and I hope so will try for correct they say price control. We live in a liberal economy. We run a liberal economy. We don't control price. Down there now be in the business of the waiting. We they regulate and we they pay attention for make sure say nobody, especially the one the way enjoy small monopoly or something close to that, to make sure say they not harm the people there by using that power for make sure say they give them put prices there out way beyond the reach of the ordinary person. So we don't do quite a lot, you know. Even cooking gas, we don't pull the waste from 5% to nothing, rice and other things then. Even building materials, we will not see, even when this they go on, people still the bill. And now one of the things that we need, the society, people that go for the house properly. So government don't do quite a lot for make sure say waiting they happen around the world. We have no control over the effect on young people there. It not be too harsh. But waiting make we not see the effect, we not see the impact of government action. Now because other things that don't come in, Even when we don't take off all the tax them, you will still get for filler. The ordinary people, they still get for filler. Like, trust them, if you talk to business people, which them they bring come, they container where they bring come for 4,000, one container, where it will cost 4,000, then they tell you, say, 16,000, 17,000 now. The cost of the container alone for bring come. What can we do about that? We don't take all the tax away. We not even get enough money now as a result of that. For rest alone, now 1.6 trillion we don't lose as a government. Because we know the tax them. If we put all the other things, now huge amount. And we still get for take care of salaries, we get for take care of the running of state, we get for the do investment monthly on education. So, we have responsibility, and within the means of government, we don't do it. Even the most powerful, rich nations don't do everything for protect, but what did not happen? We are living through a crisis, overlapping and evolving. Almost, we would have done this as we will have done the COVID. We come up with a program for resilience and recovery. We not even start to implement on the crisis start. The international financial crisis, the economic crisis, where, of course, the war in Ukraine and all of this. The thing where me go end up for talk about is that we get for take agriculture seriously. At the end of the day, not all other nations for the feed we. Not all other people there for the plant rest. From when it begin rain, 3-4 days ago, you see the rain. Other countries, the one drop not a day for the past 3-4 years. We are blessed. We get arable land of over 5 million hectares. We get beautiful rainfall, rainfall all the time. So we need to go back to agriculture. But even at that, even at the existing government for do the agriculture for them. No, even in Japan and other places, selling the feed and export, now individuals they do in the private sector. So we don't begin last year for support the private sector, for go back into that area, and we will provide quite a lot of support so that we will produce we own rest. We will begin eat rest, we will find the condiment and the plazas. So I want to say a big thank you to Ona. Now, there is something where somebody talk about living by example. If we talk about ethnic bigotry, we talk about hate speeches. I think, say, as a society, we will rise up against individuals when they spew out just hatred. If you didn't have diaspora, you will say nothing for the people there. Just tell them, say, stay peaceful, but it's and they kill Yama. When I forgot attack this person, they can't make causeway day, and no one area nowhere in the world. Mom, you say I'm the vex. They're not going to kill the people that you can't bloody well. I'm a human being. I'm a father. I see them, they hack Sierra Leoneans to death for nothing, just in seconds. What was a peaceful country? People in the corner say, what's changed? What happened? The president is not an animal. Even the animals say, wait, to this year. I mean, I hire an animal. I'm vexed. When you go to Mapna stage, you don't talk everything. You say, my country is open, calm, we are peaceful. Then all of a sudden, you see them. Now, CNN, BBC, everything. How can you not be mad? I cannot put up any other, face. I have to, even if I hide them again for sure. That is the truth. I'm not the anger and part of human emotion where even if we try to hide them, it could show. And me, when I get smiley face, anytime I would say, let's say a bet. So, sorry for that, but let's find a solution. Ladies and gentlemen, very pleased to have you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. On that note, we will say we don't reach to the end of the program. What we will do, because obviously it's rain outside, so we try for me we get photo opportunity. But we will do them in batches of 10. So we will do first 10 suicides of nation, come with the president and vice president to take picture, and then we'll get other system to do until we finish. On that note, we want to thank you once again, and make our team up now for the national anthem before signal the end of the program, and then we'll give you the photo opportunity later. Your Excellency, we will ask for the first 10 for count forward, just by how we sit on. So we start from the Vice President. Also, I want to announce after the photo opportunity, we get refreshments for the CSOs outside.